Hello, Bill Molyneux here with Goober the Traveling Bear, and we are at Fort Frederick State Park with Park Ranger Robert Ambrose. And Robert, we have a question for you. Who is the Monster of Maryland?
Oh, that would be Thomas Cresap, also known as the Rattlesnake Colonel, particularly if you are from the colony of Pennsylvania. Here in Maryland, Cresap is a hero. In Pennsylvania, he's the devil. And probably some people at one time down near Annapolis would have also said he was a pretty bad dude. But even though he did not always get along with those folks, he was a member of the assembly in Annapolis for a number of years. So Thomas Cresap is a first generation American. He had come over from Europe and settles basically here in Maryland and becomes a Indian trader, a surveyor, an explorer, a frontiersman, a militia colonel. Does a lot of different things during his life, but one of the big things is he is definitely in the land speculation, trying to get more and more land. He had houses and properties all over, primarily that we talk about here at Fort Frederick. He had properties in what's now Williamsport, Maryland, as well as Old Town, where he is primarily known to have lived. He serves at one point as a commissary officer for the Maryland Provincial Forces, and the Indians knew him as by a name that was a little more flattering. They called him Big Spoon because anytime anybody came to his house, particularly the native tribes, he would feed them, hence the Big Spoon. During the French and Indian War, he served as a militia colonel, does a lot of different militia stuff and scouting and things for the Maryland troops. And he just is generally a very interesting person. His home that was in Old Town, Maryland, is unfortunately no longer exists, but it's part of the C&O Canal National Park, and they do a lot of archaeology there from time to time. His son, one of his sons, Michael Cresap, is his house is nearby in Old Town, and of course, Michael Cresap would have served some in the French and Indian War, as well as one of the captains of one of the first 10 rifle companies sent to Boston on the Beeline March in 1775. But the Cresap name is all over Western Maryland, or has some kind of footprint. Dan's Mountain is named after his Thomas Cresap's son Daniel. Negro Mountain is named after a freed African American who saved Thomas Cresap's life and was killed during the French and Indian War. Cresap Town is named after the family, so they are very big names in this region, in this area. But yes, at times he would raise forces and march towards Annapolis or march into Pennsylvania. And literally, there is a war, a small war named after him, Cresap's War, between Pennsylvania and Maryland. So he was a good guy, but he could also be a very force to be reckoned with. So yes, the monster of Maryland is Thomas Cresap, aka the Rattlesnake Colonel, aka Big Spoon, aka Colonel.
Well, can we ask one quick
Yeah,
question?
absolutely.
Well, and why is it that Pennsylvania didn't like him?
Well, for one of the problems was before the Mason-Dixon line was made, there the boundaries between Maryland and Pennsylvania were very fluid. And Thomas Cresap was considered himself a Marylander, and at one point lives in what's now Pennsylvania and was claiming it for Maryland. There's a lot of weird stuff with the previous boundary line of who lives where and what colony it actually is in, who you're going to pay taxes to, who you're not, and sometimes people tried to make choices.
All right. Well, Robert, I think you've answered all of Goober's questions. So, anything else you'd like to say before we end out this video?
Other than the Cresap family as being as kind of important as they were to the early settlement of Maryland and into the Ohio country, they're kind of forgotten today. So there are a few things out there about them, a few books, a few things on the internet, but they're definitely worth checking out. It's always, every time I look it up, there's something new that I find that's pretty fascinating about the Cresap family.
All right. Well, everyone, to stay safe, be kind, be courteous, and thank you, Robert Ambrose, for doing this video with
No
me.
problem, Bill.